what up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with Ascension tournaments. Ascension number 5 kicks off right about now. We're just giving a little bit of grace period to Alexander, who seems to be running late. But if he doesn't arrive before I'm done talking my nonsense, then of course we'll just kick things off with Mystery Meat taking on 3 Crow in our first match. And hopefully it lasts long enough that Alexander does actually show up. So we'll see how that one plays out. He's in the same time zone as me, so I don't think we can blame time zones for this one. I think maybe he's just a sleepy bird bedhead. Anyway, we do have some images here for you. Let's switch over to this and showcase all of our groups. We have 4 groups for Ascension number 5. We've got a couple of people who are making their competitive debuts. It's going to be Keen at 3 o'clock. He's probably the highest rated vanilla Starcraft player that there is in this particular tournament at the very least. Then we have Scholar over in Group C. And in Group D, we have Luciferius. Luciferius has obviously been around for a very long time by now, but this is the first time he's participating in the tournament, so I get to call him a debutant. And I also get to open some coffee. By the way, if you like coffee, and you have some spare 3s, we do have a coffee page. It's basically like Patreon, but less AIDS. You can check that out. But we can dial in. Check out Group A, Meat Worship. That's going to be what we focus on today, in this moment, in this stream. And it looks like Iskatumesk is also ready. Let's get him in here. Hello, Iskatumesk. Welcome to the stream, and welcome to Ascension 5.
Hi. How are you young lads doing? All supple and fine like? Let me just wait for the game to actually start here. Yes, I had no idea it was at 9. I didn't realize how jam-packed this day is actually going to be.
Oh, yes. And of course, if you have to tap out at any point, it's understandable. I wasn't sure you'd be available for the first one, but that's why I was saying in your time it's 9.
Earlier
12.
is better for me.
Yeah. Okay, well, look at that.
I've been awake for about 12 hours now, so I'm going to try to be here all day. We'll see how...
Yeah, there's about 12 more hours of CMBW coming your way, so you better... I'm not 100% sure you'll have the ability to do all that.
This is going to be jam-packed. Have you guys started yet?
We have not. We're waiting on Alexander to show up, because unfortunately, it does seem like he's AFK. Let's see.
He's getting out the spirits and the brandy and the rum.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those people who prefers to... what would you say? He's always offline on Discord. Like, he deliberately sets his status to offline. So you're not going to see him and know that he's online. So you can't really use that as a clue. Obviously, I see some friendly faces in the chat. Veek has apparently achieved drag scroll using middle mouse button without it being super AIDS. So we won't have that in this particular version because we are running on release. But maybe after the group stage for playoffs, we might hotfix that in since it's unlikely to cause any issues. But obviously it needs to be tested because we do sync camera position now for replays. So maybe there could be some problems with that in multiplayer. We'll have to test that. I just would prefer to not throw something in at the very beginning here. Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and host our first match, Repulsion, and we'll see what happens.
Alright, I'm going to be casting a tournament now, so I will be watching 2 separate things at once at this time. I was watching an ongoing Dark Souls 2 stream from HKS, and I just happened to check the chat and saw that you guys were starting up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I will have to run to... This is very, last minute for me, so I have to run to the bathroom really quick here. Get some fluids. Got to take a piss, and then you got to make piss, right?
Well, we'll set up the first match, and we'll see what happens. Maybe Alexander shows up as you go and get the fluids, yeah. Those watching the stream will be delighted to know that the random number generator gave me 69. I'll have to repeat that for Mesk, because obviously that's one of his favorite numbers too. hopefully we can fix the 1 pixel artifact thing at some point, Veek, but I appreciate your work. Improving the spectator experience is going to improve, improving the observing experience, right? The actual act of moving the camera around is definitely going to improve the spectator experience too. So we'll see about that. So some interesting tidbits here. Obviously, Mystery Meat is going to be starting this tournament off as Protoss, and 3Crow is going to be playing random. Again, this is stuff that I'll cover a little bit more in depth when Mesk is back, because I'm interested in his thoughts as well. We've obviously seen a lot of matchups between Mystery Meat and 3Crow in the past, and I think 3Crow is... He was telling me, he's like, I wish I was playing against anybody other than Mystery Meat, but like due to their availabilities, they tend to meet each other in the group stages. But if you make it to playoffs out of this group, it's double elimination playoffs, and he's unlikely to see Mystery Meat. I don't think they'll share a side of the bracket, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think I have pretty high mouse sensitivity, so I probably am just used to that, but there's a high chance that it ends up being useful for gameplay as well as spectator stuff. So yeah, it's exciting as an improvement. I guess you might be able to think about how to smooth the follow thing, the follow command, if you're still interested in smashing related things to observing gameplay and stuff. Obviously, that we were talking about replacing the Alt-C command, because Control-C still centers.
We're ready to go.
All right. With Mesk back, I think that pretty much seals it. Alexander is now has one game to play. One game of these guys fighting each other before we can guarantee.
Did he come back?
No, he's still AFK as far as I know. So, but he gave me a thumbs up yesterday, so he's probably just going to wake up and be like, oh shit, I'm late. So we'll see what happens. Do a quick ready check for our players. And like I was saying earlier, Mesk, 3Crow is going to be random, so carrying your torch forward, and Mystery Meat is going to be Protoss. So different looks than the last time.
Well, Meat has shown to have flexibility. So,
yeah,
I mean, he played random in all the fraud archives, I believe, or at least the ones I can immediately recall at the top of my head. So, I actually thought Protoss was his main race for a while. So,
wow,
we'll see how that comes out.
Yes, 3Crow has randomed Protoss, and he is in the top right of Repulsion. Pylon's going down a row at the same time, and Mystery Meat, bottom left of Repulsion. He's the yellow Protoss against the midnight green Protoss. But as soon as you introduce random into the equation, you enter into a world where you have to think to yourself, like, what exactly are the players going to do as a response to that? You know, I think, are we expecting cheese, or is it going to be standard play from the random player? And then on the non-random side, how soon do they scout? If you're the random player, when do you scout? Because you scouting with your worker reveals your race. So that's a pretty big deal.
Well, I think really like the most major changes beyond that, I think probably beyond even the whole random equation in general, is just the fact that since Meat is playing as Protoss, I think it's going to curb a lot of the things that gave him a lot of edges in the other games.
Right.
The proxy anchors and the ability to switch in and out of stuff like that gave him an enormous amount of edge against, Shambler in some cases until he kind of caught on to it, against Neblime and so on. Biddy B saying an overlay is still there.
No, I already got that. It's all good.
And it's just, I think that if for Meat in particular, if he wants to choose, it has to be more committal. Like if he's going lattice currently, he would have to actually go like all vassals. I think for Meat, I don't think it really is going to change that much depending on what race it is. In the case of random, in this case, I think he probably feels very confident about these matchups against Kian. But I think that if there's ever a time for Kian to take matches off of him consistently, it's through some kind of elaborate cheese off of random that he's not going to expect. The early Vassal, for example, I'm not sure if that was even scouted by the scribe. I think it just might have been just quite... they both
did it, so...
Oh, this is gonna be goofy. But you see, Meat's got that scribe in the back, you know.
Yeah.
Protoss is quite capable of cheese, as I've demonstrated a couple of times. And, well,
Oh, there's a pylon show happening over here.
See, this is dirty. What are you doing?
Well, he has to pull his vassals up to fight that vassal that came into his mineral line, but this warden does take a long time to warp in, and there are now 3 vassals to tickle that. So while I appreciate I appreciate the bluster and the gusto of that, that is going to be canceled. There's, you know,
the fact it was vassals.
Yeah.
Kind of threw that out. Maybe if it was like something greedy or like a zealot or something, you know, something other than like a whole bunch of units that can just continue to attack.
Well, meanwhile, there is a pylon being made in 3 Crow's base, so.
You know, Meat is acquiring gas. I mean, so is Kian, but Meat is acquiring gas.
Oh, he can drop an engram. He can absolutely
drop an engram. That's what I think is going to happen here.
Look out for what he does when he has 300 minerals, because he absolutely can start warping in an engram. And it will be in range of the minerals.
This might get caught by a vision here.
Well, now 3 Crow should be suspicious, surely.
Surely he's...
Oh, right in his face. There you go. Now, he's using this as a sort of buying time, because there are 6 vassals flying over. Now, there is an idol, but... Okay, the scribe falling is a pretty big deal. The vassals are going to target the warden. It's not going to get canceled, so that's 150 minerals down the drain. Some of the vassals here being pulled. Remember that these...
Idol's getting focused down,
yeah,
and it dies.
It actually dies to...
It's vassal on vassal. The warden's... Oh, no.
He needs to get the workers involved here, because he doesn't have any more units. He wasn't training them during that time, so...
Oh, no, it's happening.
The wardens are going to finish.
It's happening. They're both finished.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid, Mess. I don't know what to do. Hold me.
I was just talking about how Meat has to be more committal to his cheese.
Well, this
if he's
is
gonna do it with
this
Protoss.
is pretty cheese. This is pretty committal. And this is why you scout. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, there's no mining. Down by a significant number of workers, and 3 Crow's already getting.
I mean,
sassed.
right now he can be mining from that gnat.
Right.
He can just be mining right now. Well, it's not gonna give him very much, but at least it's gonna give him something, right? No, he's gonna go all in.
He needs to kill these wardens, but it's just like there's an Nexus dropping in the background. There's 6 more vassals here, and the idol is being blocked by his own scribes.
Oh, no.
It's not being force targeted by that.
No,
so
it happens. It's a disaster.
He's desperately running away for flash shielding, but they will catch it and kill
They're
it.
too fast. They have
and there's
too
only a
much
couple
health.
scribes tickling this warden. Oh, jeez. This is why you always follow Mystery Meat's worker. I keep telling people, but they don't listen.
It's okay, he's getting a manifold. He's still in the game. He just has to keep his workers long enough. No, he's gonna.
Yeah, well, there's 7 more vassals on the way anyway. So.
Yeah.
Mystery Meat. That was like a barely like registered as a warm-up game. I feel like for him because
I don't think he was gonna all in until you saw the attempted wall of cannons. And it like flipped a switch in his head.
Yeah.
To hell with it.
Right.
Because he killed a bunch of the vassals early on, right?
Yeah.
So he just kind of like bounced off of that and it's like, I'm just gonna go do it. And it's just. Well, I mean, if he does that every game, I guess it's kind of like using anchor bullshit. It is just more all in though. Like if that had been deflected, then it would be quite an investment, as opposed to like the anchor and then Mavericks, whatever you already had. You know, it's a little harder to drop wardens inside of someone's base, generally.
Yes.
Than it is to lift an anchor into it. So it's very.
No, it requires the scribe to be within your enemy territory for a very long time. Yeah. Oh, by the way, can you believe it? After you exit the score screen, we have title music again. Thanks,
oh my God.
Thanks, DF. You're continuing to fix the Blizzard bugs. Oh, speaking of DF, dude, he's honking. Oh, he's already here. he's hanging out. Oh man, that's weird to say somebody's name and then a clown emoji appears next to their name in chat. That's not what I'm used to.
Where do you suppose the man of the hour is?
Yes,
he just missed the game of the century.
He did. He missed the opener. So I think this is where I just ask Veek if he wants to play. Veek, are you going to jump in and replace Alexander? Are you going to take on Mystery Meat? Fuck him up, dude.
Victory meat.
It could be. It is a
Victory.
possibility. He's like,
Okay.
sure. All right, well, we
There
did
we
need
go,
a sub.
then.
So let's go ahead. Emergency substitution mid-stream.
Don't know if Vik has had much chance to practice, what with his job and all occupying what I presume to be a rather substantial amount of his time, given I haven't seen too much of him in the last while. But
well, we'll get to see his experience.
He was a reasonable player before, so maybe just jumping back into it will feel, well, the game's changed quite a bit since he played more regularly, but presuming that he follows the changes closely, maybe he can just kind of like bounce back in the first game. Might be rough.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be a case where he wouldn't be like going up against the literal past champion. You know, Mystery Meat did win the last the last tournament, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
He has a little bit of a curve, a little bit of a hurdle to get over here.
Well, there you go. He has selected none other than Nightfall. And he is going to be playing as Protoss, so we get even more PvP action. Interesting stuff. We'll see what he has to say for himself there. Yeah, well, Shambler, I'm not 100% sure about Vik's playstyle nowadays, right? It's very different, I feel like. But, we'll see what happens. I'm going to quickly prepare our group changes, our group overlay. You guys really liked that overlay. You even liked it when it was over the game for like the first 30 seconds, so I'm going to make sure I update that overlay. My goodness.
He's gonna pick Protoss.
That's right.
Gee, I wonder if he could be planning anything unsportsmanlike. How do I fix service not started in Radman? Start the service? The Radman uses like a network thing?
I know Vika has Process Hacker. I think he has Process Hacker. I know he has a couple of things that are like me, so I can probably just throw that at him as an idea. Obviously, Vik is going to seek to rename his group from Meat Worship to Vik Worship. So. Well, I don't speak Polish, so I can't help you there.
Well, it says unable to start. Some of it is English, and some of it is in Mountain Speak.
Fucking crazy mountain. Yeah, I would say that's probably true, Shambler. Generally speaking, in the group stage, like, we haven't gotten to a point where we have multiple, like, fairly solid players for Meat to test his mettle against. So he doesn't usually have to practice macro at this stage. At this stage, he doesn't have to play like conventional RTS stuff at the same deal. You know, when he's in playoffs, he usually does it a little bit as a force of habit, I think. But when it's in the group stage, he's usually a bit more easy. I'm glad that Vik was open to the idea, because I don't think anybody predicted Alexander to bounce that way. He was saying earlier that he's like, I don't know when I'll get a chance to play another tournament, so I'm absolutely going to be at this time. And then he wasn't. So, owned. Oh wait, he's typing. He's here.
Oh, Alexander.
Yeah.
Now he has to fight Veek for his spot now.
No, yeah, maybe.
They have to have a best of 9 bloodbath.
He's.
And playing that new game mode you added.
Oh yeah,
With the special building.
Yeah, omnipresence. Well, Veek's here early, so I think we'll wait for Alexander to type. But I think he's pretty much. I don't know. It's already been a half an hour, so I kind of am. I'm fine with Veek taking over at this
but
point.
I don't see him typing.
Yeah, he's
gone.
gone.
Jay Brino would be so upset.
He's just
see you typing.
he started typing and then he's like, nah, I'm not finishing that.
He had in his message halfway typed out. I see you typing.
All right, I think we'll go for it. Yeah, we'll go for it. All right, ready? Check. Wait for Okay, we're good. So Nightfall was selected by Veek. After this brief interruption, we get right back into the game. Veek subbing in for Alexander, even though Alexander did start typing.
Veek.
And we do have Veek in the top left. Glacial Protoss against Mystery Meat, the Darkspring Green Protoss in the bottom right. And Nightfall did receive a minor change. It is now using a... The third has basically been moved in a little bit. So it's a little bit more defensible, but it's very minor overall.
Oh, this is that one I watched Blind versus Shambler on yesterday. I don't think I've actually seen a match other than that one on the... Did we have this in the past Ascension?
Yes, we did. This was the map that, if you remember, Biddy B and 3 Crow had that amazing Protoss versus Protoss game where there's the engram creep or an attempted engram creep.
I feel like we didn't see this map very often.
Yeah. I think it's because most people either didn't play it because it was new or they had strong opinions about the defensibility of the third. So we'll see. We're already seeing a little bit of a stylistic difference because Veek is coming in with a scout, I think from 8 or 9.
458 PM. Like, what are they doing in Crazy Mountain?
He's warming up.
Save some actions for the beer.
He's warming up.
Slatus again from Meat. Meat is respecting arthritis.
Yes,
very conscious.
He's taking a lackadaisical approach. There's a gateway here. We know that Veek likes his Drakidans. Well, I do that.
Veek is a very, like, bog standard kind of player. I don't think I've really ever seen him commit to... Oh, well, this is cheeky, but it's not really cheese. Like, I've never really seen him hard commit to cheese. He is being a wee bit of a cunt. Just a wee bit of a cunt. He's gonna let them both finish.
Oh, my goodness.
That's cuntish.
That is rude dude behavior right there.
It's not tremendous, but it is cuntish, and then you feel like, oh, I have to destroy these, and then...
Yeah, he was just trying to see if he could wrap around, I think, or maybe that was the default pathing. Either way, he's going to be affected by that in a non-trivial way.
This is cuntish.
He's still tickling one more scribe out there. Actually, Mystery Meat has been successfully sassed by a lot. He's never seen this kind of behavior before.
Yeah.
So...
It's mildly cheesy. You just have to, like, kind of ignore it. But, the Hierophant, depending on how much he decides to actually commit to vassals at this point, that could be really bad for him.
And not only that, I mean, he kills the scribe. He's not able to do anything against the scribe. Obviously, his scribe's being tickled to death by a vassal. 2 vassals.
I really expect, like, either a second lattice or a gateway very soon for Meat at this point.
He's going to be using vassals to clear the pylons blocking those 2 mineral fields, but for me, I would have focused one of them down instead of splitting them, because I think that helps
a little bit more efficiency, faster, right? Okay, now he's focusing.
Yeah. Well, I know you. As soon as you start fighting one of them, you don't want to unfight the other, because then shield regeneration kicks in. So I understand. Maybe that was just like a decision.
Yeah, he had one attacking the second, and 3 of them focused on it. So he kind of like switch him up. But now this is kind of curious. Looks like he's just going to go straight into a fast expand right after that.
Yeah.
So I kind of expected him to go more military because he would see the Hierophant. But actually, Veek went ahead and built a Warden instead of going for like a second gateway right away. So it kind of is like going to slow him down. It looks like Ashley's going to go fast expand himself.
Yes, we're seeing...
They're both expanding.
They're both going for an expansion. There is a forward pylon out here to scout out a potential military move out ahead of the natural. It's not going to catch anybody coming in from the north, I don't think, but that's an unlikely posture to take. At the same time,
not the most advanced of warning, you know. You could just
Yeah.
run past it and suddenly you're in the natural, but Veek has no intentions of being really hyper-aggressive at the moment.
So the vassals can tickle the gas workers in the main. The Warden does not cover that, but obviously all of the significant number of the military is over here. Instantaneous response from Veek to come down here, and he should be able to pick off at least one of these vassals. Actually, an attempted engage, I would definitely advise against that when you're going up against Hierophants because they're slow.
There's two of them too, right? Like, their damage is not that high, but it's vassals. Like, they're going to get focused down pretty quickly.
Okay. We might have just...
That really kills any of the pressure that Meat had at that point.
Yeah.
This is actually looking to be a lot more uncertain than really what I expected it to be. I thought, well, Veek seems to be just like going to kind of more like the standard. It's like the changes to the Protoss don't really hit this very hard, other than the fact he doesn't have to make the cenotaph anymore.
So here's
it makes it a little
thing.
easier for him, right?
Here's a big thing. So before, I don't want to like reveal too many trade secrets here, but Three Crow and I were practicing some matches, and Mist joined that particular session and was talking about the Ardent Authority, and he said that this structure has everything Protoss needs. Yeah, that's what his claim is. He thinks that some of the units in Protoss Arsenal are busted, and he wants to kind of show that off, and that's one of the reasons he's picking Protoss. So he's going the Ardent Authority, and he said that specifically he thinks Acantors are busted, and that in the late game, since their mobility is the big thing that sucks, if you just build a whole host of them and then get a Didact recall off, suddenly there's a whole host of them in the enemy's base. So we'll see if that's his sort of like end game. That when I saw the Ardent Authority, that's the first thing I thought of. So I'm not 100% sure about that one. This secondary Warden is being masked up, but there are, 10 vassals coming in. So that's not going to be long for this world, actually.
Well, there was a game. Again, the game with Shambler and Nablime. Nablime was thinking that, you know, he's not necessarily overpowered, but kind of difficult for Terran to deal with. But it was really, I felt like the Positrons that really gave Shambler a lot of edge, which comes out of that structure now.
Yes.
And then that comes with the Cantors. So that structure is very flexible because Positrons, I feel like, are quite an undervalued unit for what they're actually capable of. They've always been sort of like the mixed Hydra, where they can not necessarily shine in some kind of duel, but they do a lot of splash. And when you have a big stack of them, especially on ramps and stuff like that, it can be very useful. These vassals are just kind of like picking in here, just trying to get a few little kills here. They do get a scribe. They can get this. Oh, okay. I think they actually did manage to kill it there. So
looks like it, yeah.
No.
Oh, well, Veek is going to go ahead and try to pursue a large portion of that flock. But this is doing its job, right? It's keeping a much more powerful military army home. Now, the only concern is, since there's a Cantor drop coming, 2 Acantors and 1 Envoy.
Acantors.
Yeah, that is a critical moment, because now the military is home. It's unlikely that Veek will let this do too much damage to him. He is behind in workers already.
He'll do a lot, though, because he's probably going to ignore the main and go straight for the Nat, which the only defense there is the Warden out in front. It's not going to do anything. And the 2 Draconins that aren't going to be able to stop the Acantor before it gets a couple of shots off and flies away. There is a witness that kind of stopped near this pylon out in front of Mystery's base.
Yeah, is he watching the mini-map? How soon does he look back? Now, okay, only grabbing a couple of worker kills so far, forcing the pull away. Now he's stacking them up. This is where it's dangerous, right? You definitely need to... He's going to try to like move around, but here are the vassals to sort of reinforce. And this is like a very harassment-oriented play, right? A frontal assault is not what this is good at. This is good at specifically trying to harass. And we're putting that claim to the test here that Mist had earlier.
He's not careful, though. These Hierophants can't just charge right in and stop them from getting away, depending on how good his focus fire is here.
Yeah, especially with the So now he can't really land that second Envoy.
A little bit of a kerfluffle going on here with his control. It's letting that Acantor get a shot off. It died. Oh, the shuttle barely escaping. The vassals have been shooting this entire time, so a little bit of a scoot there.
One more Draconin shot would have killed it, but that's a pretty big loss. Yeah, and he wasn't macroing that whole time, so.
Nope.
Now, Mist will go ahead and abandon microing this army here, which does give a little bit of a window in for Veek in the response, because he did just lose a bunch of vassals hopelessly to a single warden. I think if
he is committing. There is 3 more Acantors in the main right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have another envoy,
He's trying to take down this warden, but the envoy escapes with 1 health, so...
Yeah.
It was a little risky there with both the Acantor and the envoy almost dying.
And again, if he had any air units, he would have been able to riposte that attack a lot easier. He does have an Argosy now, Veek, so that is going to be a factor here. It looks pretty daunting, but they both have embassies, so we can see advanced scribe production. And with this,
Acantors and an additional envoy in the main.
Yeah, look at the witness over here for Veek is seeing all of this, so he should have vision on the fact that his opponent is doing certain things.
He did manage to snipe out that Acantor with the 2 Draconians, so Meat could have possibly escaped with that.
And now he's using the envoy mostly as bait and a scout, so now all the Draconians are pulling out of position. There's not really anything to punish that, but...
No. I think he kind of was more interested in trying to get some intel on the main. See if he can figure out what Veek's doing at this moment. I don't know if he might have caught sight of that Argosy.
It seems unlikely, but yeah, because he went pretty far to the left here, like above the geyser, so I don't think that his envoy spotted that. But it's almost kind of like a fake thing, because like so much gas has been expended on Hierophants, which are 75 apiece, and Dracodins, which are 25 apiece. A third base going down here for Mystery Meat. So the saturation resumes. We're getting to a point where obviously Veek has much less mineral income, but he can at least stabilize his gas income. And if he's, depending on what he's really thinking here, he can't sit at home and stabilize. He needs to do something a little bit more definitive with his current position.
Yeah, dealing with the Acantors, especially if Meat has the ability to micro all 4 of them here, this could easily be a game-ending fight at this point.
Yeah. And again, no air units were made, so... when you see 4 of them now, and you still don't have anything out of that Argosy that you added, what are you going to do? There could be an Empyrean being ordered at this point, but the macro has slipped again, so he's not doing too much here.
An Epigraph or a Magister would also be good right now if you can keep him safe from the vassals, just to add some direct damage onto the Acantors. He's trying to split up here, but there's just so much damage, and even if he avoids the shots from the Acantors,
the vassals
There's a lot of vassals tickling.
Yeah, he calls GG. And Mystery Meat will take it using the Acantors. I think there was actually a lot of potential counterplay to that. I don't think that it was as daunting as maybe Mystery Meat thought. I think actually Mystery Meat felt like he should have won that first engagement a bit more decisively. And with Veek, if he had focus fired, either the Acantor or the Envoy, which is like a classic thing that you have to learn in, for example, PvP or PvT in Starcraft. Do you hit the Reaver or the Shuttle, basically? Learning how to focus that well. If Veek had done that a little bit better, that first engagement, he wouldn't have lost all of his military. And
yeah, there was a moment when he went in, he dove in, but his units kind of started spinning around, right? So there was this moment of miss micro at the start that really hurt his damage output. That was the moment that he needed to quickly snipe a kill of some kind. And it unfortunately did not happen. That's definitely going to be a very rough re-entry back into the scene for sure.
Well, we do have Three Crows map pick coming up. I'm actually banking on him picking Situ here, but I'm not sure. He's practiced a lot on this map, but I'm not sure that Mystery Meat has by comparison. This is the newest map in the map pool here. Yeah, well, it's funny that Veek says that the first fight was really bad for him. I think that he did pretty well. Like, it's really the difference of like 2 or 3 more Dracodin shots connecting on the right target, and he wins that and keeps like a good chunk of his military alive. But when you get to the point where there's 4 of them, it becomes a lot harder to dodge, and that's where your opponent has put in such an investment. You need something that counters them more decidedly, and that's where you get air units in, right? That's where you get like Empyreans with the splash that also deal with the vassals, or Magisters that allow the rest of your units.
Do that when you lose your nat, though, right?
Yes, yeah. Like for a longest time, he didn't have the gas because he spent it on the gateway units, and that definitely slowed his approach down.
Yeah,
and there it is.
I think that there was enough vassals to easily kill an Empyrean at that point, unless he had an existing amount of units. But the thing is that not only did he lose the all the miners at the expansion. He also lost all of his military in the process. So he had to rebuild from that.
Yeah.
And an Empyrean is very expensive and was going to take a long time to build. So if he was going to make one, he had to make one pretty much as soon as the Argosy was done. But, I mean, despite all that, I think Veek put on a pretty good showing for coming in again from, you know, not being as active. And
Yeah. Well, he's been practicing against the AI, not for this purpose, but for just generally like getting more familiar with the project. He was telling me that he appreciates now that the workers take a bit longer for the other races, it feels like the flow of build orders is a bit better and stuff like that. So anyway, he's definitely been.
So he's been keeping up with it at least.
A little bit, yeah. So when he has some spare time, he does do that.
So we did have Alexander show up. He said that he wasn't feeling very good, and that's why he was not here at this point. But
bit of a
it
status
seems like
update on
that DF might be giving him his spot.
We'll see how that works out. Yeah,
group.
Because if he can do that, you know, if Alexander is feeling right for it at 3 o'clock at local time, then you know if
that
the number
would
3
put him against
Keen and Enos, that would be suddenly a Zerg only group again.
So Keen is one that is new and that I think you said was a high level player as well.
But I don't think he's played a single game, so I have no idea
because never posted in the server.
Yes,
I've never seen him.
So that'll be interesting.
Know if he's even there. I don't see him on the list. Probably not even awake right now.
Yeah, he might be offline right now.
That would really be interesting. Alexander might get a chance to abuse him.
Yeah, same for Enos.
He has no idea what he's doing. I'm not sure. I mean, Enos is probably going to like farm games off of him too if he's, you know, like the lucky guy. You know, he had a hard time acclimating to stuff like that, even though, you know, Nibline was abusing him, and we were kind of like explaining stuff in chat. It was, you know, some people evidently just kind of like freeze up. And in a tournament setting, I don't know. It's like, if the game is just fundamentally different, you didn't take any chance to even read on what the changes were. I'm not sure. Anyways,
we do have
Kian versus Meatcunt. Will this be cheesy? Well, Kian is Terran this time.
Yes.
We could see. This is a different map.
This is a different map. This is Situ by the Beaver. On the left-hand side, we have 3 Crow. Cornflower Blue Terran. I mean, Cornflower Blue sounds exactly like Southern Florida man. And then Mystery Meat
is going to be corny.
Yeah, Mystery Meat is, of course, the yellow Protoss. Now, after that first matchup that Mystery Meat and 3 Crow played against each other, obviously there is some silly cheeses. But over here we have a fast gas acclimation. So, accumulating that is 3 Crow. I'm not sure what he's planning on.
Don't think it'll be an anchor rush. No. He would have needed a lot more. An early SCV moving out would have been more indicative of that, but
it's a gateway for us.
It's gateway, yeah. So maybe looking more towards something a little more standard from Meat in this.
So something that 3 Crow is aware of is that Goliaths are good, and we do have a new model for them and everything. So this might be where they debut in the tournament, as Fulcrum First is on the way. His scout now leaving. Mist Scout was a little bit more timely, so he'll be able to confirm that it's going to be mech play, that it's going to be Terran at all. Mm-hmm. This choke that the workers are walking through can be quite powerful as a way to dissuade ground entry, but if we pan down a little bit, there is also another southern entrance into the natural. So that can be accessed from the middle as well.
Goliaths are quite good against Protoss. Nibline was able to get a lot of mileage out of them against Architects, Positrons, and Empyreans, as well as sieging some defenses. It was kind of an interesting game to see. Of course, Shambler wasn't handling his macro the absolute best in that game, but just Goliaths were able to show their versatility, with the main weaknesses coming out with their anti-ground damage as time went on. So as the Protoss goes up in tech, Goliaths really lose a lot of punch. But I feel like Meat is not necessarily one to devote to super tech heavy stuff. I mean, the Acantor is like tier 2, and that was sort of cheesy, and I'm not so sure that would be as useful against Terran in general, just because you can have more range coverage this turn thanks to anchors, and they're a little bit more durable. Plus, the Terran can just lift off, you know, watchdogs and other stuff like that, so they don't get destroyed by stray Cantors. And that may be why we see something a little bit more standard here. Is his, you know, it is a random opponent, and he thinks, well, no point in doing that here because I don't even know if it's really going to work. And it will be Goliath, so we get to see the new Goliath along with the Cyclops there.
Yeah, the Cyclops also received some modifications. I'm not sure.
Did you do the walk cycle for that, Goliath?
No. This
Or
is
was
Solstice.
that Solstice?
Yeah, this is Solstice.
I think it came up pretty well.
Oh,
I would change the cockpit a little bit personally, but it is 3 Zealots here that's going to immediately kill that Cyclops.
He wasn't responding to the minimap, and I think versus players like 3 Crow who have that slower response time, you can definitely abuse that where you surround first.
These lobsters could screw him, but he did move back. Now, you see how he kind of like went up north. He knows there's probably lobsters up there.
Well, as soon as you see the vulture, yeah.
But, oh.
You know, that could have been pretty dangerous, actually. I mean, he could have stunned
A little bit
all
trolls
of them.
here.
Yeah.
They're moving forward, following, and this.
Yeah, this
could
is
be
bad.
A fatal mistake.
Yeah, 3 Crow just wasn't paying attention to his military. He's starting to add clerics for the Goliaths. Good stun effect on 2 out of the 3 Zealots here, but obviously has to fall back. There is the ability to lay more lobotomy mines.
Cleric has arrived just in time to at least save the Goliath from further aggression, but one vulture does die. One of those Zealots was very low on health, and he could have gotten 2 kills out of it if he was aware which one it was, but he kind of like clicked between them the heat of the moment. You know, probably not really going to be able to do that just by sheer luck. But the early Goliath Cleric rush. I think Meat will be quite happy just to take the Nat and just play this a little bit more slow early on, just spamming nothing but Zealots.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I mean, this kind of demands that you get some sort of crowd control, and that is the weakness of Goliaths, right? They get overwhelmed by single targets. Unless you have some sort of critical mass of them, but managing that count early by killing the first Goliath, you know, obviously managing the vulture count as well, it just generally reduces the ability for you to do too much. And yeah, adding even more gates. Obviously right now, Zealots, funnily enough, Lobotomy Mine still counter Zealots, do some pretty good damage to, or, stuns to them, obviously allowing more damage to be done elsewhere. There's a Shaman here for more sustain, but there's a lot of expenditure on trying to go for a sustain when it's not really as easy to do that. Now, we're starting to see more Cyclops be
He
added.
might be expecting Drakiden or something like that.
Yeah.
The Zealot spam, I think, is going to come as a surprise to him.
Yeah, it's also coming to a bit of a halt here. Well, I say that. There's more being added. Warden for safety versus Wraiths.
I mean, I think that this group right here potentially could even kill Kian, depending on how the engagement goes.
Well, that first one just gets bruised, leaving at 69 health. And there definitely needs to be more crowd control. Now, he's avoided seeing the main stack of Zealots. They're just sort of scouting around. I think Mist might be not unfamiliar with this map.
This could actually, where we're sitting at right now, could be really bad for Kian. If one Zealot happens to run into here and not die and triggers that lobster, it could stun half of his own army. And the other Zealots could move right in there and get a lot of free damage in on him. But it seems like, well, the same thing could hypothetically happen if he comes from the south and they come around the surround.
Yeah.
It could stun the back of his army, and the front of the army, where the Zealots would be, may not get stunned, depending on how that other lobster goes off. So you gotta kind of be a little bit conscious of your own lobster placement, and especially when you're looking at dive units of the Zealot, you gotta think about, well, the lobster may not detonate immediately when they come up. It's probably gonna chase a little bit because it has a bit of an animation. And it's actually going to be Legionnaires to support the Zealots at this point. So just going straight to surround, because he got kind of like eyes on the army with the one Zealot and sees it. It's primarily like some beef and sustain and very low in number. Just surround them. And meanwhile, we have an Anseal, a second Fulcrum.
Embassy on the way as well, so maybe looking for drops, at the very least a witness. That's the only gas expenditure Mist has had so far in this whole game, so...
Now, Kian's gotta be very, very careful here. He doesn't realize how dangerous this actually is at the moment. He has no idea.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the massive Zealots at this point, we got 17 in the middle of the map. I think you get diminishing returns pretty quickly with this sort of force, because there's going to be a point where they can't surround individual targets anymore.
Well,
but there's very minimal crowd control. We have one
well
Cyclops
away from here, because there's so many large units. Like the Shaman's large, the Goliath's large. What he really just needs to do is just box in that army, and if he does that, then he's basically going to win.
starting to get some
There's only
Cyprians and more
so much
Cyclops.
focus fire is going to even help you in that because there's so many smaller units.
I think maybe
just
Three
like
Crow's aware
flank
now
wolves.
because he's starting to add more crowd control, and he might have seen at some point, like, okay, my opponent has just a stack of military, a stack of melee. Keeping them at an arm's length.
Well, it's telling
is
that he's
definitely
not
a good move.
moving out. I think
Yeah.
he senses there's some danger here.
Right.
He also may be, aware of the last game where he saw the Acantors.
Yeah, that's
and
where
might
the
be thinking,
Yep.
he's got some mines around his main there.
Yes,
just in
yeah.
case.
I don't know what Mist is planning with this, but it's interesting.
He's probing it. I think he's keeping track, making sure there is no tech switch.
Right.
And keeping a track on how many units there are. And meanwhile, he's just being very, very comfortable because his army is very low mineral. Or
Yes.
very low gas.
Yeah, there's no
and now
gas
he's getting
in that army.
amaranths on top of it. So, if he threw in a couple of Ecclesiasts into this, it'd actually be really quite silly. But he's just going amaranth.
Hey, he's going melee only. I think he's going to try to pull the trigger on
He
an
might be
attack.
coming in now. He might be coming in now for the all-in. He's got... Oh, there's so many of them. But they get kind of choked up in that choke, though, and he kind of has, like, second thoughts. That definitely showed key in his army composition, though.
Yeah.
So he's definitely much more cognizant of the fact that, what the hell? You've just got nothing but zealots and legionnaires.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Now, he's got a lot of undeployed lobsters here. He could hypothetically just build like 1 million of them in here. And that would delay it a little bit, even though the witness would see them. The witness getting a lot of peeping in there.
Yeah. There are ant seals available, but you have to track it down. It's a whole thing. I'm not even sure that Three Crow's aware. He's been adding more vultures, trying to make sure that he can get some more mines out, I think. But for now, he's just going to be...
The vultures being large will make him a little bit better at body blocking that army from the Goliaths and the clerics and so on. And they're ever so slightly more durable. No, they're the same health as the Cyclops, actually. So just one less armor. Actually, less durable overall than the Cyclops. You wouldn't think it by looking at them, but that is the case.
That's right, yeah. They recently did have more HP, but I dropped that when I increased their speed. Made them a little bit more of a harassment unit.
Something goofy is about to happen.
We do have a passing like ships in the night here, but obviously the air units from Three Crow were able to scout that. So he's aware. He's going to pull back. He's got a Wraith with this army as well. Obviously, this army cannot attack up. That is just not within the cards.
Oh, it begins.
Okay. Instantaneous.
Well, that was goofy. And now the Wraith begins. It begins. Oh, it ends.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as
just
Three Crow
sees
sees
this
the
massive
scope
melee.
of this army, he should feel somewhat confident here. Like, I'm not really sure what the plan is. There's a scribe up here, too, curiously.
Well, build an engram. You've got the money for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of money for all of
too gung-ho in chasing this down because his army can get separated.
Oh, here comes the engagement. Anseal's protecting these units, allowing them to stay alive for a lot longer. The Shaman could deploy for more healing for a wider area, but yeah, you can see here the limitations of this
really
army.
getting bottlenecked by this choke. They can't. Most of the units can't get in. They're getting a lot of damage in, but it could be more. There's only the one Cyprian. He's shooting, but
yeah, there's a Cyprian and a Cyclops here in the top, but it's not necessarily going to work out for him. Overwhelmed eventually by just sheer numbers. And this is the limitations of Three Crow's composition. Yeah. He just didn't have any crowd control, really. He had a couple of Cyclops, couple Cyprians, but he really needed to specialize a little bit more. I would have loved to see Matadors in this case.
Yeah.
Deploy those bad boys, get the fire out. Maybe even some Hurricanes.
So many.
Yeah, there's just almost an unending
I think I
number.
would have stuck like a couple anchors there just in case, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's got the minerals for it, but it's definitely too late now.
Yeah.
The swarm is unleashed and more are coming.
GG is called, and there you go, Mystery
Kills
Meat.
the witness before the end.
Deciding not to opt for any sort of gas expenditure other than his witnesses, just to see if that would work. And again, Three Crow kind of stubbornly avoided going for Matadors or anything like that. Maybe just didn't understand the full scope of the attack. And that's where you look for scouting, right? You look for...
When I saw the Cyprian, I thought he was just going to stack Cyprians, and that would have worked quite well. But ultimately, he only had the one, so... Benno had a sad.
I know. There were not that many.
That was silly. But you could kind of see that coming with the unit counts just in general, is that when you have one big unit, And however many units surround it, they can put out so much more damage. So even though he was getting kind of throttled by that choke point that they couldn't get like past the trees and the cliff to get all their damage in on the Terran army, it was still just a law of raw numbers versus some AoE and then predominantly single target.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it was all Cyclops instead of, you know, like all Vultures, there probably would have been a lot more just general damage placed onto them.
Yes.
And maybe a couple of extra Shamans in there just to overlap healing, right? Just to...
Yeah, the Shaman was never deployed, right? So that was another thing.
But who in their right mind spams Zealots, Legionnaires, and then Amaranths?
Well,
So,
that's, yeah, we're seeing Miss
unusual.
bring a different style to Protoss than we've had before.
not a composition you would normally expect. Like, it makes sense in hindsight, but when you're in the game...
No, yeah, of course. And I think,
you might
again...
think, maybe I should get Matadors, but, you know, what if I get a run by, or, you know, how am I going to chase them? What if it turns out to be Dracodins? No, it's literally just all melee. I think that just doing it, what Nablime likes to do, setting out one of those Anseals just to scout. Because they're very, very durable. They can scout all over the place and take hits in the process. And not really care. Would give you some intel if you think you're not really entirely sure what it is you're up against. Because Zealots historically have been good against Goliaths for that reason. And again, Goliaths, 10 damage versus ground. Not going to gun through Zealots very quickly.
They ignore the Zealot armor, but they definitely have some problems with managing them at scale, we'll say, right? No splash out of that unit. But we at least got to see the new
them against Zerg because they survive the Bactylisks a lot longer than the Bio does. They're able to kind of like push in there. And Bactylisks are a lot squishier. They don't have flash shielding. They're a little bit easier to manage, right? That's why you typically would see that switch into that build, but not into, you know, Protoss ground, which is significantly more durable.
All right.
It's the Shambler map. The Shambler map makes its return.
Yes, we did not get a replacement in time for Boskevine. So
Mame Street is always there. Just gotta man up and take it.
Okay, well, the white Protoss in the top right against the mahogany Protoss in the bottom left. That's Meat in the top right, Veek in the bottom left. What is going to come next? We have a lot of mineral fields on this map. For those who don't know, there's 10 whole mineral fields. So you can get a lot of mileage off of one base if need be.
I was still waiting for Veek just to throw down an all-in into some absolutely bizarre, out-of-character cheese. But I try to think back to a time where I remember Veek going something really cheesy, and I don't think I can recall any like that. And if you really know that and you're aware of that as Meat, you could really take advantage of that. You could do something really stupid and cheesy and throw him off and tilt him. Veek has a habit of tilting, kind of not in the same manner as Shambler,
right?
But I think in many cases I've seen him quit out of things that were not decided. And cheese, I think, is one of the things that can set him off. So, well, it's going to be a lattice for Veek, so that is different.
Yeah, and it's going to be a rogue gallery first, so not exactly a cheese, but definitely a more volatile opener. I did do this to 3-Crow earlier on practice games that missed soft. So, okay, there's going to be an attempt at gas blocking.
This bullshit again. Here it is.
Yeah.
Nah, it's going to go for number 3. Just wait. Yeah. You might not be able to with the other... No,
there you go.
Fuck it.
I mean, that's a very steep investment to...
What a cunt.
To block
that's
the
150 minerals worth of pylons.
Look at the path that
gas income.
Look at
but you see the rogue gallery. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's 150 minerals, sure, but it also can delay just about anything he does in there.
Well, there is a vassal
forces
on the way.
a warden out right away, you know.
Yeah.
In Meat's mind, he thinks he could just pressure me really hard at this point, trying to delay this.
I do agree that they are incapable of living civilized. The Kabbalist out first is pretty good. You can see an instantaneous pull. Yeah, Meat is really thrown off kilter by this. He's not like used to this behavior
really
at all.
Absolutely
He's getting his scribe tickled. You know, does zone him away. Harassing the gas workers.
But it wouldn't surprise me if I saw a warden come out of Eek at this point.
Yeah. Vassals
But
are...
this warden's gonna finish, so...
Yeah. If I'm in the category here, right? If I'm meat, I'm force targeting a scribe onto this pylon that's being attacked by the warden because the vassal can come in and interrupt it and then cause shield regen. But it's not going to happen because the vassal was too busy trying to deal with the Kabbalist.
Yeah, so it is a Kabbalist and not a Barghest. The Kabbalist is substantially more dangerous in this regard. The Barghest could not really deal lethal damage to scribes and could be feasibly tickled down by the vassals during its engagement.
Yeah,
but
there's no military at
Kabbalist
home either. So
the Kabbalist forces a warden out, which is on the way, but not quite halfway finished. And yeah, there's no military to defend, and it's like kind of futile to chase around with vassals to begin with. Like they're not really going to be getting much pay for their costs at this point. So that's a second warden inside of Meat's base, though. So Kabbalist has 2 kills. Trying to get some damage.
Actually, the warden should finish here. So diffused a little bit. If he had just gone for the warden immediately and then dealt with the scribes afterwards, he might have had more power. But he does force the vassals back, which is kind of uncharacteristic. And I think now this is where the game, quote-unquote, normalizes.
It was a teleportation by the Kabbalist, but it didn't actually go anywhere.
Classic move.
But it does manage to escape, though. One vassal left at home, just kind of standing there. There is a second Kabbalist en route, and a third one just finished, so that's 3.
A Nexus coming down as well, so an expansion attempt.
A Matrix.
Yeah.
Meat really committing it to static defense in this. He is expecting non-stop vassals, and it is an honest expectation as more vassals.
Well, he scouted the second lattice, so he knows, like, okay. I think he might even be able to attack.
He's going to try to force this down, or is he just going to try to go for...
he's forcing the drill. He's forcing the drill. Just the lost mining time there is kind of worth it. I think once he gets to the point where he has 3 of these Kabbalists, he can break down that warden. And Veek does not seem to be aware of the possibility of that. So
I think Veek was hoping that the Kabbalist would have attacked during that period. Because then if it did, it would have most certainly died right away.
Yeah, and it was good trigger discipline, so to speak, for... Honestly, I still rate Mist here. I still think his position is stronger. He has a couple... Veek has a couple of vassals, but there's only the one warden. You know, that can be focused down.
Eventually, there's going to be so many Kabbalists. They're just going to force this down right away. They can even go for the pylon.
I was thinking that, too. They can absolutely go for the pylon. But the vassals are here, so it might be a little bit...
Veek knows they're here, so he's suspicious of the all-in. I don't think 3 is going to be enough to bust it down with all the defenses here, but...
There's more tickling happening up top with the vassals. They're going to start harassing the lattices, forcing a cancel on one. Honestly, I think they can even go for that left side warden. They did force a cancel on the Nexus. A 4th Kabbalist is here, but it's not being managed. So this is missed. That could have been his trigger to go, honestly, because not a whole lot of vassals were even over there. And we're seeing another warden go down. This is the point where the Kabbalists stop being as useful, I think.
I think Veek really wants to throw a second pylon in there. That would really secure the deal at the moment.
He's struggling with the acceleration, deceleration changes and stuff.
Oh, he goes straight for the pylon.
Oh, he does. He pops it. That's a big deal.
That's gonna be bad news, hombre. But one of the Kabbalists did die for it.
Okay, a second one
trying to go through the.
Just with the vassal horde here, and another pylon going down to defend. So not
really
bad
at all. Deflected and didn't take too much damage in the Just what, like.
Couple scribes. I think one scribe died in that engagement. Yeah, and the pylon.
And then the pylon. It's not really that big of a deal at the moment.
Look at the mineral count of our players. They have not. Oh, okay. It's going to be a Cantor's out of Veek, almost certainly. He's dropping the Ardent Authority.
So Meat at this point desperately wants to put his money into something that's actually going to push the game ahead. Yeah. And he doesn't want to have to turtle up his main. He feels that's silly. But he is now trapped in a silly situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like sending out his... Well, he's going to look... Yeah, he's going to try for a secret base over here, but... I mean, with the vassals roaming around the map all over the place, I think it's just liable to get caught by them. Oh...
Ooh. Did he notice it? Well, he forced the scribe to fall away. The scribe was not interested in continuing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
He really wanted to take that base on the side, I think. But no, he's going to go here and put a pylon here and try to build defenses. And then go for the Nexus. I think Canors are going to be on the way by the time that finishes. There are some idols being built. They could fight a Cantors. They are fairly fast. The damage is not amazing, and they can't really hit moving targets, but...
Yes. And it is going to be a
It's an
Cantor's,
answer
but
at least.
there's no embassy yet. Oh, there it is. Oh, he screwed up the positioning. There it is. Okay. Now, the Kabbalists can get a scout off on this, and they'll be aware. So that's going to be great information.
Yeah, they're going to just immediately murder a sim.
Oh, that teleport was ill-fated. Zoning him away. The embassy...
He's going to spot this. He might even be able to snipe the Acantor, you know. He sees the scribe was spinning there for a moment. Now, this Acantor, if it ends up... Oh.
Okay.
Oh, he's going to see it. He's selected. He wants it. And he can get it if he really wants it. He can try to get it. But it's going to probably cost him everything he has.
I want to see Veek send off a shot at that simulacrum towards the vassals. That would have been the play.
Oh, yeah. He used a simulacrum to try to bait out.
Yeah, it's targeting. Oh, there you go. First one does go down. Second one goes down from the sims from the south. Yeah.
All he did was give him an extra sim for 2 Kabbalists.
You know what you can do again is you can just move that sim in the just vague area and then shoot the sim with the Acantor, and that'll be splash damage. So that could work.
Might not know where it is while it's moving. Now back at home, there's a couple of vagrants in addition to the idols, some cross map mining. Still even workers between the workers in spite of it all.
Shocking.
The meat's got a lot of bank. Now this last Kabbalist here trying to get a kill in, but not able to finish it off.
Still, he's not committing to the witness. He just wants that envoy so he can transport these Acantors. It's very telegraphed. There's a Stargate on the way as well for Mist. Two Stargates.
2 Stargates. May as well. I mean, at this stage, you know, if it's just going to be Acantors flying around, and then the vassals on top of it. He could build land effects to deal with the vassals, Panoptis if he really wants to. I mean, he has the money for it at this point. He would just have to wait a while. I mean, even Auroras wouldn't necessarily be too bad at this point, except for dealing with a simulacrum. Oh, and the last Kabbalist dies for a scribe.
Okay, he does get one more, you know. But honestly, relieving the pressure there might be worse than just keeping him there forever.
Just having the one there tickling you and every now and then, but a bunch of vassals kind of flew in here. At least they're going to see the army composition that Mean has.
Well, this also is a go trigger for Mist, it looks like. And obviously the Acantor is a huge part of the army.
Envoy. It could get tickled by vassals. Intense vassal violence here, looking for maybe a snipe on these idols. Nope. A little bit late on the shot there,
look at that.
Lots of damage.
Trying to play dodgeball here, but the Vassal Sim army cleaned up the rest, and now Mist has to tuck tail. A lot of his vassals charged off to the front lines. There are some wardens over there, but it's not going to be too significant, I don't think.
This is actually where Bargists would be great, because if you had a few of them get AoE down those vassals and then just kill the envoy, but
yeah, this is a little bit lazy here.
Having anything like that.
Yeah, Veek could have kept a lot of his vassals alive, but as the vassals die,
the idols shooting these vassals while they're sitting on top of the wardens, the perfect time to get some damage on them, but it's not happening, so he's losing his base just for free at the moment.
Yeah, Sims are actually left in the middle of the map because they were, you know, the product of clones, and now they're even going to tickle the vassal army. And now that some idols are taking pot shots.
Two Panoptises have arrived. They'll pick these off real quick. Unless he manages to scoot away, which...
he does, but the Panoptises they don't really keep pace with the Envoy exactly, but some moving shots could have maybe sealed the deal there. Either way, it's going to allow him to negate the influence of the Acantors. And there weren't too many scribe kills there. The bigger problem is that the military is now favoring Veek. Not necessarily like super decidedly, but he has higher quality units. Although as these Stargates see more action with more Panoptises on the way, that will start to turn. And suddenly Acantors can't be the only answer. Architect being trained now at the Ardent Authority.
I don't really favor... Oh, he switched it out for shoes, actually.
Oh, he did?
I was going to say, I do not favor Architects against Panoptises. It's not a good matchup for them until you get a lot of them. And
right.
Well, he's actually going to go for shoes at the moment, which will help a little bit with another 4 lattices.
Yes, so I think this is going to be...
into Sims.
Yeah, he needs some sort of frontline or like general meat to the army, pun intended. Considering what's happening here is that, I mean, the vassals are definitely really good as general usage. You can even overwhelm small numbers of Panoptises with them. So depending on how many he ends up getting is a pretty big deal. He's even going to go ahead and pop this Warden down. It looks like he wants to free up the build space or walk space or whatever. Oh, maybe his units are technically
2 idols
stuck.
are trapped in there.
Because of the way that I think that's actually the case. So they're going to go ahead and free themselves. Physician, heal thyself. Well, how about program thyself?
Immediately queuing up additional slippers. It's kind of like that video that was posted of a man throwing his shoe at a rat
Dude, I really
That's
like
what
that
Vic is
video.
hoping.
I keep that in my special folder. It's a good video.
It's really good. That's what Veek's hoping to do right now.
Yeah, he just
Catch
needs
the
to.
rat before it wanders off and starts nibbling your siphoned cable TV.
I mean, just think about the Kabbalists, right? That's a big deal.
There
That's basically
is
what that
a
is.
LAN effect en route. Just one at the moment.
So at the
There
same
is a
time,
lot of
yeah,
Sims.
we do have 4 Acantors again. The double drop is a real thing. Now, he could... I think, obviously, the most effective move here for Veek is to use this in the, you know, in conjunction with his army. We didn't talk too much about this, but Mist tried to take a 3rd base. It's very not... it's not very defensible,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is probably going to
There's
fall.
not many workers here, so I think he didn't really want to commit them to it at the moment. It's almost like a bait in a way, though. Maybe he's hoping it gets attacked.
Yeah, the Acantors are off to the left, but the Panoptises are engaging the main army, where they will actually be, you know, focused down a little bit. Another set of Acantors is not exactly being focused. Lan Effect starts to engage its disruption field. Will slowly be focused from the side,
Good
but
split from Veek there.
yeah, it was pretty solid. There's still some very wounded
Acantor just walks to
Panoptises.
the front and gets away with it, too.
I know, yeah. More scribes
Those
going down.
Panoptises are so low on health right now.
Looks like only one Acantor has gone down so far. So that 3rd base will fall. We do have more Panoptises being trained. Oh, actually, we have Exemplars coming out. That's going to be much better at dealing with this ground-based army. But, yeah, the biggest problem is definitely the Acantors. Now the Envoy's trying to
Really
fall
wants
away.
to snipe those envoys.
The Panoptises could have gotten a couple shots off. Oh, they do get the other one, but the... Oh, he unloads it just in the nick of time there, right before the missiles
Oh, they
connect.
get dragged onto the idols. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
And the Panoptises goes down immediately.
Exemplar
Not
is
able
cleaning
to
up the
finish
ring.
off that.
Yeah.
Oh, Exemplar coming around from the bottom, but he took quite a chunk of damage on his Panoptises. Only one of them is alive now.
And just at the tail end here, I mean, these Panoptises will start to fall. The Exemplars are being ganged up on. More reinforcements coming. We have another army of Sims trickling across the map, and Meat calls GG.
That is GG.
Upset by Veek, the mercenary, the programmer, the architect, scores his first dub. Now that was a game.
Manages to overwhelm Meat with his own build in part. Other than the adaptation to Sims, it turns out Sims count to Exemplar. Well, I think the shoes were really important there because they just add in that little bit of extra damage and they're relatively cheap. So the fact that Meat had a fairly small unit count to that point because of the other trades in the match, Veek made the right decision to switch to that and just build a large number of units. And that turned out to be well overwhelming. There was a couple of misplays from Meat's Panoptis control where they kind of got dragged into the idols and took a ton of damage. But honestly, I don't think that really made too tremendous of a difference. Veek just had too many units at that point.
I think the thing was, you know, Meat was trying out that the Kabbalist opener, right? And I look at that and I think to myself,
It was not very effective.
That must have been some kind of experiment, you know, and I think that just set him off, you know, the wrong foot, so to speak.
Veek didn't overcommit too hard to dealing with it. And he got kind of lucky with the way that the positioning and stuff was enabled. The Kabbalists just were not that effective. They did not pay for themselves.
Yeah.
The gas cheese on top of it, I don't know really if that really impacted it very much. Didn't really seem like it. But I feel like that probably was annoying to the point to might have like dictated some of the pace.
Well, I mean, he had excess minerals and was able to go for the Warden to, you know, break them down and also safeguard versus the vassals. So I felt like that actually didn't end up being too consequential, but it might just be those things that you've never seen before that kind of like throw you off.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get some
Just
information.
thinks he really, really, really doesn't want me to make gas. Yeah.
Right.
All right, I will be back in just a moment.
While we wait for Mesk to return, I can direct my attention towards the chat. I saw Askia in there earlier talking with Benno. CMBW is definitely grabbing the attention of some people. Not gassy enough, boy. Oh, wait, Veek. Is Veek playing with the Mesk advisor? That's really funny if true. He'll appreciate that. What's up, Askia? The most common typo of my name. Probably deliberate, TBH. Yeah, dude, trying to get more people aware of CMBW. I was working on a tournament explainer video that kind of goes over our format because it's a little bit different than the default Ascension format, and Ascension is kind of niche or arcane or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just a bit of a new one. I mean, King of the Hill is maybe an easier term for it, but I don't think that it's a very common tournament format. So anyway, I wanted to release a video for that before this tournament, but I'll get it out after group stage, and at the very least, it'll cover some of the playoff stuff for people now, but it'll also help announce like what the format actually is for other people. So.
He's literally shaking. Literally shaking after taking a bite
of
that mysterious meat.
Yeah. Nobody will tell me what kind of meat it is.
Maybe they don't want to know. That's why he's shaking. The taste was just too profound and unusual.
So here's what I need to see, Mask. Here's what I need to see. I need to see 3 Crow get Veek in this one, and we really have a group on our hands. Yeah, although if he conquers, yeah. Okay, so here's the other thing, right? We force a tiebreaker if Veek wins the next 2 matches, because then he'll be 3-1, just like Mystery Meat. If I knew, it would not be a mystery. Exactly, Mist. How do you feel about that match while we're waiting for Veek to come back? Because I feel like the 150 mineral block on the gas was not that significant, but maybe Meat feels differently since he's in the chat. I figured I'd ask him. What do you think, Mess?
Veek showed an unexpectedly high level of control. He didn't freak out too much by the Kabbalists. He seemed very, very competitive in that game. He had a strong idea of what to do. The composition is not the composition I would have chosen to go up against when I was seeing what Meat was doing at that point. Maybe it was just like a gut reflex. I'm not sure. Like, I think the Panoptics might have been kind of unexpected for him, but he's still committed to it and it worked out. So he had, you know, a very strong amount of confidence in it. And at the end of the day, even the Exemplar didn't put any real slowdown into his advance. And he stayed aggressive. It was just a very strong game to come out of him. Certainly more than I really expected to see. But, you know, maybe like the Kabbalist entry being so ineffective.
Yeah.
It's kind of what, like, put him in that spot. Where maybe, you know, when you look at it, objectively speaking, it was kind of like his game to lose at that point because Meat's early game was so lackluster. Yeah. But one wrong move with any of what he was doing at that point, losing the Acantors ahead of time before he was able to deal damage or whatever, would have absolutely thrown him out of that game pretty quickly if Meat was able to get that 3rd down and actually hold it.
You know, I think
that 3rd was kind of in a strange play. Maybe he had it in that spot as opposed to the corner because of the Acantors. He wanted it to be closer.
Yeah, he wanted to be able to defend it more adequately. But I almost wonder if, I mean, obviously it's an investment in the future, but I felt like he needed to stabilize now. The play that he made with the Kabbalists charging into the main, I think if he targets down the Warden instead of, like, while it's warping, instead of going for worker damage at that point, probably gives him more room to play with the Kabbalists. It might not have swung the game, but because the Vassals could still have shown up there, but it would have been less consistent damage onto them. And I feel like maybe that would have... He only had 1 Kabbalist in the base at that time, but I still feel like he would have been able to, you know, force a cancel or do some damage, and obviously if the drill happens, he can pull back and teleport back in. Right. Yeah, he's saying in the chat that the extra high latency got him, where he lost a couple of Kabbalists for, you know, like for because of latency, essentially. That's just the reality of connecting Poland to West Coast USA, unfortunately. But
and Canada, which is basically the moon.
There is some weirdness with teleportation, unfortunately, that we haven't been able to exactly fix. But and I guess you were probably at a greater disadvantage than you would have been, because Kabbalists in this update have 10 more shields than they used to. They have 30 shields instead of 20. But they have... They decloak on the teleport instead of decloaking on attack. So you can't chain teleports together to, like, navigate the whole map in a fucking challenge run anymore. No.
I will be AFK for a moment. Feel free to start without me.
All right. Waiting for Mist to confirm. Or no, it's 3 Crow, actually. 3 Crow to confirm. Dude, I'm so used to Mist always playing until he gets 4 wins. Waiting for 3 Crow to confirm he is ready. All right. Competitors, leave the Twitch stream and whatever. If you're actually playing in this game, obviously, Mist, you can hang out. You're a homie. Suddenly, having more than you bargained for, perhaps. But we have Veek in the top right of Otherworld, the Glacial Protoss. He's going up against the Brass Zerg. 3Crow has railed Zerg. Zerg is probably 3Crow's best race. Certainly, you would say that the Terran performance he did, I mean, he stayed alive for a little bit, but it's not his best race. It's probably his worst race. And he is going to go for an interesting build here. So this is a 7 pool. This is a chance to upset. I think he automatically built a worker and wasn't really expecting. Like, he forgot that he was going to do that. Because, like, when you're playing as Zerg, that's different. When you're playing as random, you're thinking, okay, I got to build a worker as soon as I start. No, he's going to go straight for a 7 pool. So this is Mist's influence. Mist told us all about how you can go for a 6 pool if you're Zerg. And you can do it. And you get your Quazeth pool established at, like, 22 seconds. And your Zeths hatch around, like, minute 20, I think, or something like that. So this is going to be a little bit delayed from that. And, of course, there's a scribe here, but it's not all the way here. Oh, Veek. So he's going to see 3 eggs and the Quazeth already done. What is his reaction? What is his reaction? Lattice out. I think he needs to spend a lot of minerals to try to, like, wall this off or something, because this is going to be really scary. He's going for a Warden.
Oh, boy.
Yes, okay.
Oh, boy.
You came back, but there's already... We're a minute 36, and there's already 6... Zethar cores on the way. We need to see some sort of wall here.
So many Zethar cores. If these get past, what?
Okay, instantaneous worker pull. This is not terrible, but this is going to be awkward. Now, there's pretty much no way that this is what is planned. This is not what's planned. This is not what's supposed to happen here. You're not supposed to lose them and then have the same worker count. So you can instantaneously go straight back to mining. There's only 2 Zets left. They're very, very low. The Warden finishes. They burrow to regain health and avoid pain. Back at home, slight worker advantage for 3Crow. But that was definitely not expected. That was not expected.
Is en route.
Now, he scouted so he scouts the Lattice. Does he expect the Vassal? We don't see any Quasilisks. We just see workers. We see gas being harvested. He's got so much money he can drop a macro hatch. And the Vassal, it does reveal itself.
See that Vassal, so he's...
And good control there as well. Tickles. Yeah, and that's what you do in this situation. I mean, the full worker pull, it might have been a little aggro or like crazy, but I respect it.
I mean, the alternative is to potentially have a run by that causes you way more headaches.
Oh, yeah. And even though he's now behind in workers, like 3Crow doesn't have the larva economy to really do much, so he's going to go for expansion in the sort of like micro base here. And at the same time, you know, his Nathra cores are out, so he should be able to defend versus the Vassals.
The Shambler build.
This is pretty legit. I was saying earlier that Mist is the person who is responsible for this. Like, he told us in the chat, you can 6 pool. It's a thing. And it absolutely is a thing, but it's just...
now it's actually chasing down the Vassal. It's responsiveness that we're not accustomed to seeing.
Yes, yeah. So that's going to be looks like the sticking point here.
Not committing them yet, though.
No, he wants a larger mass. Yeah. Starting to add some workers.
He's expecting a turtle up in the main, but you know, Veek isn't going for it yet.
He doesn't have anything protecting his workers, so he's really reliant on the Vassals to keep him alive versus the Nats. And I think there's just too many. There's 8 Nats on the way. That's outnumbering the Vassals. 1 Nath is better than a Vassal. Anyway. So
I mean, he can go for the workers, or he can try to force down this front. Either one is kind of a win condition for him at this point, as long as he gets rid of the existing Vassals.
Well, he's going to reveal his cards here by flying over, and that should instantaneously tell Veek, okay, I got to build something. He's going for another Lattice. I don't think that's going to be enough, up in time. He has 6 Vassals to the 8 Naths. This is one area where the Nats will potentially lose, is if they focus down the workers while they're being shot. But you can see here the Vassals are the ones being
down the Vassals at the moment.
And Veek is not responding to that. There's just so many of them. He's going to pull away.
It's a tragedy. Oh, God. Just, couple of scribe kills in there. He doesn't want to commit to the Warden yet.
5 of them can kill a Warden anyway, so that's not even that difficult. And there's, he could maybe cancel this Lattice and afford an idol, and that would help him, but That's a lot, right? So he's going to try to pull. He's not in a good spot. The Vassal is here to take some more pot shots, but he needed to keep his vassals alive and like micro against the forces. He hasn't canceled that. Oh no. Okay, Vassal at about half health. A little bit less than half.
He desperately needs more money for another Vassal, but now with more Anath showing up, he realizes it's too much to deal with at this point.
3 Crow makes it a group with a ridiculous cheese. That was a 7 pool.
Shambler smiles. I'm sure Shambler is very proud of that.
Now this is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we were expecting to see when 3 Crow went up against somebody like Mist. But you know, Veek proved himself to be a worthy opponent. He gets the cheese too. Mist says he's very proud of that. Yeah, it's true.
Like I said, I think that Vika is very susceptible to this kind of stuff, and you know,
yeah. I mean, he remained calm for a very long amount of time. It's just he wasn't expecting the Nath follow-up, and you know, I guess his vassal probably scouted the first pair of Naths, but he didn't respond, thinking it was going to be more of an all-in. He might have thought that 3 Crow was going to try to normalize the game, and that's where I think.
See, if it's me and I see Shambler with Naths, I think, oh, there's 2 Naths. So there's going to be 20 in just a few moments.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think there should be any reason to think any otherwise with Kian, because that is what has been going on with the Zerg for a while. Is if they're taking Naths, chances are it's going to be an almost all-in, right? And that's kind of what this was. First it was a Zeth all-in that then moved into a Nath all-in. And, you know, like, especially when you just got vassals, you know, you might be tempted not to build the extra defense, but he built the extra lattice. He never had the money to do anything with it at that point. The pressure was already in, and there was nothing that was going to stop the Naths from, at the very least, denying a significant amount of mining time. I think that losing the initial vassals is really on top of it is he needed to at least try to kite them and focus them down as much as possible, not fight on top.
Absolutely.
Like if they just focus the scribes and you shoot them, you win. So taking a few scribe losses for killing all the initial Naths would almost be a worthy trade, because then you can further push yourself into more of an aggressive state where Zerg now has to build a macro hatch or something like that to try to keep up with you, right? So
yes.
But I think that Veek maybe didn't. You know, he maybe thought that pressure was not coming. Well, it did. And I think that's the case where it kind of like pushed him off the edge. He wasn't able to respond to it really, you know, in the most efficient manner. So that brings us to, oh, look.
It's happening again.
It's going to happen again.
Okay, I have to cut. First of all, thanks Luciferius for subscribing and playing the fucking engaging blades sound in the middle of Mesk talking. So that sounded really good. Second thing, I have to say, okay, 3 Crow in the top left, Mystery Meat in the bottom right.
Though.
This is a 4-spawn map, and he is cross-spawn. This is the worst timing you can possibly have.
And he's doing it anyway.
He's doing it anyway. This is a 1 in 3 chance to just totally blow up in his face. What can Mist do against it?
But it's
like
it's a 1 in 3 chance to take the match.
Yes, yeah, potentially. He's just gonna go for it.
How bad can this go? This can't go bad.
This is why Mystery Me picked this map. He's like, well, if he does get Zerg again, he might do this, so I'm just gonna dissuade it from happening.
And if he still loses to it, what then will he do? We have to reevaluate his life.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. And Meat is unfortunately scouting 2 incorrect positions.
Oh, is he end scouting?
And he's not going to see a worker.
Okay.
And okay, here is the. He's going across.
Oh my God! The fucking star sense on this man to go straight for the cross map.
The scribe will not see them. They're going straight across. They're gonna run into him. It is a zealot.
No way! No way! There's a zealot coming. The scribes can be pulled. The Zets are going to get here in time. They could depower the gateway.
This is going to be disgusting if he manages to pull this off. And so it begins.
Oh my God. You know, Mist, you said earlier you were really proud of it. How proud are you now, buddy? Now your pylon's still going, so the Zealot will finish. The Zealot can do a lot of damage here, but the pylon does go down a little bit late. Zealot getting picked apart. Okay, a couple of these Zets are really, really wounded. The Scribes can absolutely fight this. So 2 more here. Okay, this is the right move. You run away, you dodge back and forth. You got idle workers
You
back
gotta
at
waste
home.
as much of his time as possible while you spam out gnats.
Yes, and there is at least...
You gotta get gnats into here because the only way he can respond to gnats is by spending gas on a slow-ass unit. If Meat does not call that... Okay, he's going for the Warden. The Warden is basically your safest bet at this point.
Yes, yeah. He's expecting the Nath follow-up. My God. My God.
Just slowly working on the Nexus. It's got it down to half shields. Yeah, Meat doesn't really care at this point. You know, if he gets down my Nexus low, well, the Warden will finish. He has to stop the impending all-in. He knows it's coming. He feels it. Somehow deep... Oh, no, he's trying to pull his scribes to go.
Oh, not quite enough. And yet, that Warden will finish. There's more Zets here, but it's not going to be that many. And the Nats are going to dive onto it, but look at this. The Scribe's blocking the Zets from doing anything about it. They need to charge in forward now, but they're not going to do it. The Drakiden will finish. I think that spells the end. You know, still down by 4 workers.
The cheese is ending.
Some Zets are here, but the Nats weren't rallied. The Droleth is still idle. Lots of money in the bank here.
The response that you need is something very decisive like that, and...
My goodness. Now again, there's an expansion coming, and he's adding workers, so he's just going to try to contain from here, which is the play.
Yeah.
But this is a really all-in position.
Yeah, he's down on workers very substantially. It's got some bank from all of that, but, you know, at this point, Meat may just decide to play it very safe, non-aggressive from this point. He knows by his scout that was going on during that point that it's a cross position.
Yeah.
So he's probably just going to turtle this out. He may even wait until he takes an expansion. He may even wait until he goes for tech. But he's just not even adding a second production structure or any defenses right now. Just calmly stacking up minerals.
Well, you know, I think he's
straight.
No, he's Grand Library. It's 100%. Oh, no. Yeah. Rogue Gallery.
Rogue Gallery.
Okay.
Huh? So...
Interesting.
That's still just... what was it? They weren't Vanguard. I forgot their
Vagrant.
name.
You're thinking of Vagrant.
Vagrant and the Kabbalist and...
Bargus, yep.
The,
it also adds
there was
Charlatans.
No new units?
Charlatans are now available
okay.
from there. But I don't think that they're a fairly gas-intensive unit. I think what we're going to see here as the contain is going to surely... No, okay, he's just going to allow that.
Double Rogue Gallery. So, I mean, I think Bargus are kind of risky against this, but at the same time, Kabbalists may work well, perhaps. It's risky. Like, this is definitely kind of a riskier thing. Because all the Zerg really has to do against either of these is just build an obelisk. And
and then rely on one static defense structure or another, and that's it, right? So depending on which one
I mean, I think, like, if I was Meat in this position, I would rely on the fact that I'm a stronger overall player, take it to mid-game and be very safe about it, right? Because if this person is dedicated enough to do this 2 times in a row across a 4-player map, you know... Maybe you don't really want to give any possible opening to slip up against it when it was possible. But
this Nexus has to cancel.
Yeah.
He's not marshaling his forces, so he was just going to sit there in the cancel. It's going to be Bargusts.
No.
There's a reasonable amount of units over here, and only 3 Drakidens, the Zealot. There's 1 Bargust out. Okay, like the longer this goes, obviously, the better it's going to be for the move here. So
just going for the workers. Here he is getting a number of them in here.
The Bargusts are going to dissuade this force because of the sheer number, right, of the multi-targets. So they're slow, and Nats can absolutely abuse them in open terrain, but that's why they're cloaked, right? So this can be quite difficult. The third base coming for him.
He traded some units for a handful of workers, so, you know, denied the Nat.
Right. Got
his own Nat up, slowly turtling. Knows what Meat's doing tech-wise. Knows it's double Rogue Gallery, you know. Yeah. It's going to be Bargus, spam, and...
This is a very heavy correction here from 3Crow, where he's responding with 3 Kagrants in the main, 2 in the Nat. This really cuts into his worker count. So,
I mean, if the Bargus get a chance to go off, it will just end the game. So he's very aware of that. So he doesn't. It seems like he really doesn't want to commit to the Ovaleth. It's just going to be just turtle up and discourage it. But in such a case, all Meat has to do is just build a very large number of them, or in the case it's going now, switching to Cabalists. And if there is no detection, and then there's that switch, then Kian's in trouble. Because
also you have to realize,
are flying around.
If the Barghests aren't at home, 16 Nathricors can absolutely run roughshod over the space, kill everything here. You know, the Warden is not going to last very long. This Nexus is a little bit closer to completion. I think the flyover was seen by the Kabbalists, and yeah, now the Barghests are falling back, because that number of Nats can absolutely run roughshod over that whole base.
But I think Kian might be getting kind of a little intimidated by the Barghests at this point. Maybe he doesn't want to fight those, and it kind of like stalls the game a little bit. But now the Kabbalists are moving in, there's nothing to actually defend against these.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no military units because all of them are Nathricors flying on the other side of the map, so they're going to have to fall away. The burrow is had. Obviously, you can step on burrowed units to reveal them, so that's not the end of the world. And yeah, you can see the Kabbalists getting a lot more mileage this time around. There's really no defenses. The Nats are here, but you know, not positioned. And yeah, again, nothing to detect is really the biggest thing. And all of these eggs, these are not workers. These are military units. 3 of the workers are also being idled at the 3rd base, which is pretty bad. I mean, in such a case, what we're seeing here is Mist going to slowly get ahead in terms of economics.
He is just stacking Barghests. These Kabbalists are just here just to waste the time.
And they still one-shot Zetricors.
Ground defenses, yeah. There is an Obelisk coming now.
Yeah, it's a little too late, I feel like, but you know, at the very least, he can put a stop to the Kabbalist's onslaught, since there is a decent number of them now.
But all these units that he has are melee, right? And now his Nat's been shut down for a while. So the Kabbalists are definitely doing their job. They've gotten in some kills, shut down this base, forced out the Obelisk, which, I mean, with the Barghests at this stage, it's not really about sniping. It's going to be about destroying this army out front, I think.
Yeah. There's a lot more Nats being made,
try to lure them out.
Admittedly. Like, it's actually mostly Nats at this point. It's all Nats. All the eggs right now are Nats. So 3Crow going very heavily committed into military. He could just A-move the enemy base and, like, Barghest Kabbalist. The Kabbalist would do some pretty good damage, but the Barghests do not destroy bases very quickly, and there's sprites all over the place anyway. So, here comes the pull. 3 of them do go down in a couple of salvos. Avaleth is here. Instantaneously picking off 2, 3.
Of damage.
Yeah, 4. That's 4 of them gone. The more you pick off, the less effective they're going to be. But he's doing some pretty good kiting here, and 3Crow does need to actually micro this force a little bit if he wants to.
The Avaleth is pushed away, but
yeah. So there's 4 of them left. That was most of the military there for 3Crow, and it does feel like he's got nothing that can defend.
To move in here.
That might be game right there. That might be Mystery Meat qualifying into playoffs in first place just based on that, because it's really quite
he's still got Nats. He can defend. He can defend against this. He's got Nats. He has to bring them in to actually deal with this.
Well, picking off the Kagrants that were mutated. And he's focusing down the Kabbalist, which isn't really a bad shout necessarily, but he has Nats at his 3rd that he's not moving. That definitely could have swung the battle in his favor, I think. And the Avaleth gets sniped on top of it. Yeah. Which is going to make this a lot harder. And again, behind this, right, like 10 worker difference in favor of Mystery Meat, because this natural was never really allowed to stay alive. If this natural wasn't pressured to the same degree, I absolutely think 3Crow could have won this game. He also, if he just really hard committed into Nathricors with, you know, 24, 30 Nathricors, which he'd absolutely had, like, combined, if you combine a bunch of them, he could have just walked through the base and killed it, or maybe forced a cancel on the Nexus again to slow down the economy. He's adding static defense to the 3rd, but it hasn't even been discovered yet.
The little staggling of units that have been slowly coming out of that one gateway are coming over now.
Yes, yeah, that can absolutely
it's going to be very
pressure.
hard to hold this because he just doesn't have the eggs.
Yeah.
He's trying to make another secret base. I don't think Mystery is aware of those secret bases, but he might become sussy when he sees all the heavy defense in the main, and
he doesn't even know that this other base exists.
It's a good idea to look around.
Yeah.
Now, these Barghests probably just going to poke in here, but there is no detection, so he could go for some snipe. He could even sacrifice him if he really wanted to, just to kill all the workers, but that would be only something he really wants to do if you think he's only on one base. So instead, he's trying to thin out the military, which...
Yeah, he's successful in softening up some of the Nats and killing one of them. So here's the focus fire here. The Barghests did start to attack the Hatcherosks instead, and I think this is going to be enough to break because of the gateway units. And again,
there's too many Dracodins.
Yeah.
you know, a couple other little units, but the Bargus alone, I think, could probably do a lot if he was really willing to sacrifice them.
Yeah, Quasis are out.
Have arrived, but
yeah.
they get kind of rally pointed into the army, so it's not as useful as it could be, as the one Cabalist just slowly eats the Drow.
Yes. Yeah, there's just not much going on here. I mean, he's got Quasis coming instead of Nats. He was about to be able to get tier 2, but I'm really not sure that it's going to be enough. He's got a lot of money. You absolutely could have seen him build more units or switch tech or something, but
when you got like the 3 bases, even just tangently mining,
yeah,
I think you probably need to like dump a macro hatch pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if he was just going to spam Nats at this point, it definitely could have helped.
He is going to get tier 2, but I think the writing is on the wall here. Losing your main, going down to 11 workers, some of them idling, not having enough minerals.
This is the Enos build, and it can work.
Yes,
just not when your main is dying in the process.
Yeah. And the Barghest are combing through the map as well, so they've just scouted the bottom left, the entire left-hand side.
It's okay. Kian is going up in bases, not down.
Yes. Well, he's transferring all of his workers to his other base because he's aware.
Oh,
but
no.
The Barghest are just going to kill them. Mist isn't too interested, apparently.
There are ticklers here.
Well, yeah, he's just going to now move. Now he's just going to move across. He's going to spot Iris tech, have a laugh to himself, and then close the game, I think. There's an envoy with a Cantors. The Drolets do get picked apart. Oh, goodness. Now he's only mining with 3 workers. GG is called, and that will be missed. Qualifying.
He'll never know about the Iris building just beyond his line of sight.
Yeah.
The Enos build's not quite able to close the game. That was silly.
That was silly.
The call to go across the map.
I know, yeah, that was ridiculous, honestly. That was pretty insane.
But you know, the fact that Meat had his SimCity tightly packed, the quick scribe pull, he knew how to respond to that. And his arrangement was more well suited for dealing with it to begin with. You know, just the safety of doing it that way. He just clenched his butthole so tight, he created dark matter. And then there were no more Naths and no more Zets. You couldn't see them anymore. It's too dark.
I do appreciate that he made Cabalists work there, but it was absolutely I don't know. That was a match, man. That was surprising.
That was Tism.
That was very surprising. Well, we are entering into what might be the final match of this group. If Veek wins here, he takes second place. If 3 Crow wins here, then they are forced to do a tiebreaker. So, Infinite Velocity is Veek's pick. I was expecting him to go for Death Spiral because that's the more standard map, but that's
I don't know. Maybe Veek is gonna cheese.
It could happen. It could happen.
It's the cheesy map. Since you monsters removed mains. This is what you get.
Oh, Ben, I was asking for an interview. Mist, if you're in the chat, would you like to do an interview? We can move over to the bullying corner temporarily. See what he says.
Well, we then bully him.
Yeah, of course.
It'll be a 5v1 and we all go Zeths.
We'll see if Mist wants to donate a few moments of his time before relaxing in the first place pool. He did actually lose a match. This is the first time in group's history, I think, that he's lost a match in the group stage. He came pretty close when there was that group of Shambler, Mist, and you, but he managed to exit unperturbed at the end of it all. I don't think he's in the chat. He doesn't seem to be responding, so I think we'll go ahead and get ready for this match.
I think after all the Zets, he's just taking like a huge dose of brandy.
Right.
And absinthe.
Well, if Veek wins this match, he qualifies in second place. If 3 Crow wins this match, we go to
do they go to another game?
If 3 Crow wins, yep. So I'm just writing that out now.
Imagine if Veek gets cheesed twice in a row.
Yes, Veek, you did make history. Now you have the opportunity. It's really unlikely 3 Crow gets zerged 3 times in a row, right?
No, it isn't.
All right, boys.
It's not nearly as unlikely as you would think it should be. I can attest to that when you have 12, 14 games of Zerg in a row.
Let's see if our players are ready. Oh, Veek is typing out your percentages.
That's not real.
Ready or not? Oh,
Listen.
12 by the way percent. Okay, it's guaranteed now because of simulation. So let's see what happens.
If he gets, well, a Zeth all in on this map can be kind of hard because the distance is a little bit longer. But
I think so.
You know, I wouldn't put it past.
But at the same time, your scout arrives later, so you're less. Oh my god!
Don't fuck
Oh
with the map.
my god! No!
What have I told you? What have I
12
told you?
by the way percent chance. Oh my goodness! Well, I hope he closed the stream in time because otherwise I just spoiled it immediately, and he's gonna have to rehost because that's just rude. You can't just metagame. You can't just cheat by stream sniping.
Listen,
It's happening.
when you say, "Oh, I'm random," you're actually Zerg.
Well, his Quazeth is coming. It is happening. By the way, if Mist is in the chat,
Look at this early scout coming from.
I know,
Pete.
yeah.
You can't trust your own numbers. You know in your heart it's going to be something terrible. You don't want to admit it,
Yeah.
but in your heart you know you can't deny it. And it'd be funny if you just go straight to Nath, but I don't think you would have the money for that.
One trick Tony. It could very well be the case, DF. We are witnessing history. 3 in a row. 3 Crow. I mean, that's 3. So
Yeah, Veek hasn't even made a structure yet, so I think inside he doesn't want to until he knows. But if he finds out too late, he will see it.
well, he's going for the lattice. There it is. And he sees the. Oh no!
Oh no, he ran past.
No, he sees it.
He doesn't-
Surely he panned his camera.
I
He
mean,
must
he
have.
would have seen it, but he doesn't know if the eggs truly are Zeths or not.
I mean, when
I mean,
you
he's
see that
probably just
Quazeth at this
He
early,
cancelled it and swat straight to the warden.
Okay,
Tell
double
him-
warden, and look at the path. Like it takes 35 seconds for the warden to finish. That's probably not that far away from how long it takes these Etherichors to get across the map, right? And he's even
Listen, I
he's
think
even
he
harassing a
screamed
little
something
bit.
in Polish.
Yeah, this is a Korva moment right there.
Kian not checking to see there's some stupid proxy in the back.
Yeah, he has to, and this did not.
Very
You know,
good.
this absolutely will slow down. Oh yeah, I think this
But
is
you
held,
know,
man. I think this is
that's double
absolutely
warden.
held.
You cannot panic too much when you just watched
He's gonna go for the
another
pylon,
person. Oh,
but look at this. The DPS is too low because the second warden does finish in time, and there it is, completely diffused. Doesn't even have
I mean,
to rebuild
even if
it.
he got it, he would have taken so much damage. The
Yeah.
scribes would have been able to force him off anyways.
I think
So
I
this
think
time,
Veek is
I
gonna
think-
step on this cheese and then clean his feet after. I think this is over, man.
I think that Kian has to commit just straight to macro at this point. Just skip the whole Nath switch.
Yeah, the scribe is still scouting out, making sure there's no.
Whereas what Veek has to do at this point is go straight to mining
Ooh.
gas,
Here we
build
go.
that pylon there, and put an engram there.
Okay, I like that idea.
Do it, Veek. He's not mining gas, though. He might just go for wardens, but you know, an engram there would have been just the right way to answer this. If a man keeps force feeding you cheese, you've got to put a greater in his mouth. Oh, he's trying to do the warden, but
Yeah, it's gonna
been
get scouted
spotted.
instantaneously. So
What an absolute shame, but an effort was made anyways.
we appreciate the effort. There are still 4 Zeths out. At 4 minutes in, these Atlases are torn down. So fast approaching the time where the Niduses will take into effect.
The scribe has survived an unnaturally long period of time. You might be tempted just to drone drill that
Yeah.
piece of shit, but
Nope.
nah,
he's
not
back.
quite committed enough. You had to pull all of them, you know.
Well, he could just deliberately move his Zeths, and that would be enough. But yeah.
He tries to every now and then, but just somehow it manages to quite get to slip on it.
Oh, 3.
So switching to the Hatros, but still
Finally.
making Zets.
Finally.
So, you know, Vika also looking at an expansion here, quite ahead on worker count at this point, rather substantial.
This pylon is
Just
still
about
going
double.
to scout stuff out. I don't think he sees the Hatcherosk, but he's going to scout out a large number of Zethrichors. By the way, Veek is playing with the Mesk Advisor, so...
Oh, God bless. I'm helping him even now.
Yeah, he does say... he said earlier that he kept being told that he was not gassy enough, boy.
Well, I don't see any engrams, so I don't think you're quite gassy enough as it is.
That's absolutely true.
Now, he is getting gas, however. He's got 200 Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised just hard switch straight into like a Canor or something at this point.
Could be a Canor, could be Argosy, although that's a little
I mean,
ways
it could
off.
be Nats, but, you know, maybe like just heavy air, even just like Abergraph Empyrean. There's a little smattering of Ticklers and Zeths coming over here, but he's got a handful of Zealots and an Ecclesiast, so I think between that and the 2 Wardens and a Scribe Pull, he absolutely has to. I don't think he will. Oh.
Ardent Authority. That's going to be a Cantor's after all. Yeah, he has enough to defend this. I mean, between the 2 Wardens and the infantry, indeed. Although he is moving his infantry away.
If he goes through the Nidus.
He doesn't pull his force. Oh, he's just going to attack it.
He's attacking it.
Okay.
Oh, this could be dangerous, actually. Maybe not, like, really. Oh,
he cancels it. He definitely could have defended that. It was almost complete, so that is going to slow him down a lot.
Well, if his army got caught out, it won't fight this on its own. I think he needs the Wardens to handle this.
But he didn't. Yeah, okay, he's going to see that the Nidus was damaged, and he's just going to go back home. See ya.
He finds a Scribe. He finally kills it.
No, he did kill the other one already, so that's actually a second.
What a bunch of goofballs. He came in, stomped around, flipped over the couch, peed in the corner, and then left.
That's a pretty apt description of what happened here, but there's still no embassy, and the Nexus does go back down again. Now there's an embassy on the way. But with that Nexus
that'll
expended,
be a Cantor. You know, he's going to pop back through here, maybe. Slurps in. Okay,
just a borrowed Zeth. Okay. That's pretty good for
I don't know if he's
awareness.
going to call the Acantors in time, because if this gets off, there's not very much. He doesn't want to be chasing around Acantors with a handful of Quasilisks and Zeths.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely would at least want to have a big old stack of Naths to cause problems. Now, the Zeth spots him come over there, smear feces onto the Nidus, and then walk away.
Yeah, well, that did force a pull of all of the units from 3 Crow back up to the main. But I'm not really sure. How could it have been?
I don't think he's going to call this. I think this is going to be...
Yeah, Envoy is done.
Unceremonious and extremely painful.
Well, there's no other tech here for 3 Crow. He's going to take another expansion, but he doesn't have Hydras, which are a really important part of dealing with the Envoy. Nor does he have Naths to chase the Envoy down. Or
he
pick
really
off
just
the
wants to have Naths, just like, you know...
Anything the air will help him out a lot. I think Zerg is probably the most insulated against this kind of push, but there are no Naths here, so...
You have to call it, though. Oh, man, a single shoe is en route.
And also, I mean, the Nidus staying alive here is pretty bad for 3 Crow, because the ground army can just cross over instantaneously and reinforce the Envoy, you know. So
all the Acantor really has to do is deal damage, or he can just bring this over here. Now, it's going to get scouted by the Zeth. If he's watching the minimap, he'll see all... Oh,
yeah, well, he'll definitely know now, so...
Now he might be slapping himself in the foot for not having dealing with it. He's going to move to try to deal with this in case it pops in. I think he can probably fight that with this, but, you know...
Yeah, mostly it's the position.
What he doesn't realize is... Oh, here
comes the Acantor. And the Quasilisks could have maybe done some damage to that, but he does instantaneously try to focus it down, and you can see there, just... That's the whole army, pretty much. He's got 5 military left. He gave it a tickling,
and that was really about it.
Yeah. He had another Zethracore at that ramp, but that's it, yeah. I mean, what's he got? He's got a Circuit, but the ground army alone could deal with that. Workers are pulled.
He's not drilling hard enough. He's not drilling hard enough. Oh, it's a train wreck. The shoes are slapping.
Good luck in the playoffs. GG. And Veek does end up taking it. You know, I do feel bad for 3 Crow. He was going to be able to probably scoop past. In it. Well, he was going to be able to scoop past Alexander, I think, you know, even if Alexander wasn't feeling really sick. And then we just randomly out of nowhere get this Polish guy from Crazy Mountain jumping into the game because Alexander is under the weather. And suddenly, you're going to be dealing with a very different look. And that will indeed qualify Veek to the playoffs. Again, he makes history by defeating the undefeated, the undefeatable, we thought.
Now, when Veek goes into the grand finals and manages to just barely eke out victory against Enos, you'll find that substitute changes the world forever. He wants to be bullied. I don't know about you, but I like bullying people.
Hello, Veek. Welcome.
Crazy Mountain individual. How does it feel being on Crazy Mountain?
I don't know. I'm still shaking, so.
How did you feel about the fact that the 12, by the way, percentage move where 3 Crow ran in with a third Zerg in a row? How did you feel?
I knew he would try to ult me again, so like, I mean, I expected it because that's probably his like strongest
Absolutely
play, I guess. So, and yeah, the last match he really surprised me because I thought I'd be able to like basically outproduce him, but obviously not, since Vassal's like train for like 12 seconds or something.
Yeah,
and now for cores, you just get every 12 seconds because that's when larva spawns, and you get 2 per larva. So like I wouldn't outproduce him at all. So I probably should have just placed the photon cannon, and like this time I actually placed the pylon in my main, so I was immediately able to build the cannons, right? So I actually wanted to. I don't remember if I placed. I wanted to first place a gateway robotics, but then I saw the spawning pool. I don't remember if I actually placed and cancelled, or if I didn't build it.
You cancelled it. You canceled the lattice right into 2 cannons right away.
Which was the right play as soon as you saw the Quazeth, right? Like, as soon as you see that up already, complete.
Well, I wasn't sure if I would actually make it in time, but I guess I would pull the workers and that would be fine. I would be safe for any follow-ups, although I wouldn't have any production, which would kind of suck. I don't know, I kind of expected him to actually like have more army when like after I pseudo defended it, I expected him to be able to actually destroy me out of macrame or whatever, but
well, no, because that's such an all-in strategy.
My Nexus, because I mean, it was last second cancel, but I think it was probably worth it, although it still was like pressure that he applied to me. So
if you didn't cancel that, you probably can posture repeatedly to defend it. So I feel like it wasn't actually necessary because it was full HP.
Maybe.
But either way, it still ended up working out in that you eventually had the Akantor follow-up. So
I honestly couldn't believe I won that match against Mist, though. That was crazy.
That was a back and forth. That was a crazy one. And now you're into playoffs, and we got double elimination, so you're guaranteed at least 2 series of best of 5s. So
I hope I will have time.
Yeah. Well, if not, we obviously we can hand 3 Crow the keys there. He did qualify to semifinals in the last tournament because BDB wasn't able to make it. So.
Is that like the next weekend or when?
We're not 100% sure yet. So our plan for that obviously is to cast it from replays. So ideally what we're going to do is get people to play it whenever they are available for the matchups and then send us the replays. We can cast like, you know, say 4 quarterfinals in one go or something like that. I mean, it depends because that could be up to 20 matches. So maybe we wouldn't be able to do that all in one stream, but we'll see what works out. Because that way we don't have we only have to account for the players and a referee who will ideally record their FP VOD of observing. And then that's like 3 people's schedules instead of 4 because it's the 2 casters and the 2 players. And then the 2 casters could just sync their availabilities up. And Mesk and I can work together on that. So.
If you end up having to bail out and he takes your spot, how many other people are going to have to suffer the tragedy of being 6-pooled over and over and over again?
Yeah, that's true.
Think of the terror that you would be unleashing upon the world.
Yeah. I think that's really legit, though. I mean, I want to ask you about the Mist game.
Also, I watched the replays of games at 2 times speed. I mean, not the last one yet, but I watched the one when I was rushed. And I think you said that I shouldn't have pulled the workers, like that there was something better I could do, and I was wondering what that was.
Oh, no, I was saying it could have been, like it was an acceptable play, but I was thinking that the worker pull with all of them might have been an drastic solution, because if you lose, I mean, maybe by chance you did stuff the wall, so he couldn't go through the scribes, basically, and he only ended up getting through with like 2. Zeths at that point.
Yeah, the round was pretty good. Although I feel like the probes actually, like some of them, the attack order didn't properly process, so they like just broke. I probably had to reissue it or something.
Yeah, there's some weird thing that happens with workers specifically on attack move that I don't think we've exactly mapped out. But yeah, it's something to that effect. So I mean, in general, it was a reasonable response. It's just obviously like you mentioned earlier, your warden was placed on the ramp. And then the Nath follow-up absolutely bamboozled you. Unfortunately, I mean, I still can't believe 3 Crow fucking had the gall to like cross-spawn on a 4-spawn map.
I think it motivated him because he said that it would be a really cool group if he actually upset me. So
Yeah, if
You
he upset you and then also managed to defeat Mist, suddenly 3 Crows at, I guess that would be 2 wins.
Yeah, imagine if we ended in FFA.
It wouldn't have been possible because Mist already had 3 wins, but you would have probably seen
two, 2.
Yeah, everybody has to be 2 and 2 at that point. So that's like A beats B, B beats A, C beats A or B or whatever. Like it just loops back. And then we needed the tiebreaker format to decidedly give us a decider. So that was a bit different. But yeah, so congrats. The Mist game I do have to ask you about. When you defeat Mystery Meat, obviously it's a momentous occasion. Everybody writes home and marks their calendar and talks to their mom about it. But the thing about Mystery Meat, obviously he's the champion of the last tournament, but he switched his race. You're probably not familiar with his playstyle in general, but especially as Protoss. So
I've heard he likes to use Anchor cheeses. So.
Yes, yeah. So like, and the first game, which I'm not sure how closely you watched because that was before you knew you were subbing in anyway. He just cheeses, like it was a Warden Vassal combo to get the victory over 3 Crow in the first match. So, what do you think about that? Like, how did you prepare yourself going into that match? Did you just decide you were going to try to play a generic, because at that point, when you go into Boskevine, you already had a loss.
I wanted to have information if he's not like skipping production or something.
Yeah.
Because that would be a red flag for sure. I saw Lattice, which. I kind of assumed he would go like Sims or something, but then he went Vassals.
Right.
And I guess that actually that pylon cheese I did was pretty useful because that gave me some additional info.
Right, yeah.
I feel like if I handled that first engagement with Acantors, we would be pretty much even.
You're talking about the one on Nightfall or the one on...
The Nightfall, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you were able to attack with 3 more Dracodon shots the right target, you'd probably have been more even, and that match would have stabilized anyway, but who knows what happens when he drops 4 of them.
Because I made Ecclesias because that's what like resources afforded me to, but I feel like they weren't as useful against this. I mean, maybe against like a Vassal dive, which was my like idea why I would even want them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't expect the counters at all, so then like they were pretty much dead units, I feel like. Acantors, not Acantors, but Ecclesias.
Right.
So if they were like Dracodons, that would be very different, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have given you more range to engage. Mesk actually said that in that Nightfall match, the Magisters would have helped you out a lot because the Magisters would have given you the opportunity to extend the range of your other units, thus neutralizing some of the advantage with the
before we played that match, I didn't even know what Arden Authority does. So,
Yeah. Well, you're not the only one who's going to be learning on the job. We do have in about an hour Group B coming up, and Keen has not posted a single public game of CMBW to my knowledge. So he's going to be relying on his awareness of stock StarCraft, which might lead him astray.
That I feel like is pretty meta, but I didn't use it yet. And we'll try it next time, I guess.
Yes, it's called the Huracan, and you need to mind control a Mason first. So,
that is how. Yeah, that's exactly.
What did you? Okay, I guess before you go, what did you think about Mystery Meat's game on Situ, where he did nothing but spam melee versus
that was funny.
The Terran.
I don't exactly remember how it ended, but it was pretty interesting. I was looking at that Terran army. I was like, "There's no way they would like even with perfect surround they would actually win." I feel like Zealots are units and Legionnaires even more probably are units that you need to complement with some other units like Hierophants and Ecclesiasts.
Yeah.
And maybe even like, I don't know, the Templar, what is the name?
Cantavis or?
Cantavis, okay. Yeah. So that is probably what you need to do with them. Like maybe you would cast Hallucination or something. Although Cantavis is a double-edged sword, so maybe not, I don't know. But it feels like a unit, like the melee-only playstyle would need to be complemented by something, I think. I don't know what it would be.
Well, it's just it worked out in that match.
Very, very convincingly in that game.
Yeah,
even though he had a super bad engage technically, because half of his army was stuck behind this choke point. Yeah. But it didn't matter. Like they still overwhelmed the Terran army anyway because there was so much beef.
Oh yeah, right. Because I didn't actually watch the whole game because I decided to watch the replay of the previous one.
Oh right, I see.
And then I was pinged eventually
for the next one. Yeah. So basically, the way that it worked out was that all melee ended up winning because there wasn't enough crowd control sustained from 3 Crow. But I just don't think anybody would expect Zealot, Legionnaire, Amaranth as the only units that you build. So it's pretty interesting.
He
play.
also went with Amaranth.
He added something in later. I don't think they made a difference.
couple of them,
right? Nothing,
just a couple.
Yeah, I don't even think they maybe got any hits off.
There was just so many of them, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a mineral-only army. He had an extra base, and he just had so many of them that the Goliaths didn't do really much damage. It was like a very vulture-dominant army in the end.
Yeah,
and they just didn't even they couldn't get a full surround in because of the way they engaged on the choke.
You were talking about N?
Yeah, Mad Capson. So that would definitely help him. I mean, the thing is, when you're looking at the tier 1 options, I said in the game, I would have liked to see Matadors. You siege those up and get them the flamethrowers going. I would have liked to see just more Cyprians could have done it if he wanted to spend the gas. But Matadors would have been like the least gas-intensive solution to that problem, at least as a beefy frontline, particularly if he deployed his Shamans. But like, it just required an acknowledgement that that's what Mist was doing, and nobody is going to think, yeah, that's what's happening here. So, yeah, all right. I think that's going to do it for the winners interview, the second place interview. Thank you, Veek, for subbing in, obviously, and appreciate you hanging out. And we'll, Mesk and I will have our last word on the group before we close the stream out, and we'll be back again in about 50 minutes for Group
Thanks
B.
for chatting, and thanks for casting, I guess.
Hell yeah. All right, see you later, dude.
Bye.
So, Mesk, what do you think? We're thinking about Group A, sort of responding, reeling from the results. I'm sure 3Crow is a bit, it's luck of the draw. Alexander gets sick, Veek subs in. Veek's a stronger player, it seems, so 3Crow ends up not being able to make the cheeses work, although he was pretty close in a couple of engagements. So. Some beautiful things happen
there at the last moment.
No, I was just saying that like some nice moments in this group. This is sort of our last.
Oh, I had to go AFK. Like I literally had to go AFK just for like last minute.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I missed whatever final word there was.
I was saying this is our final word. We get to talk about the group in sort of retrospect and say like what people are thinking. So yeah, I mean, Mystery Meat looking a bit more on the mortal side, at least in PvP. We'll have to see. He didn't really reveal too much in this group stage. That's sort of what we were discussing with the melee army, is like the fact that the melee army worked in such a way, it didn't really reveal too much. Like you can respond to that pretty easily if you know the comp or if you know that it's coming.
I think it was kind of like, I think it was very much like just like a game knowledge thing.
Yeah.
Where he saw the early Goliath and then the early Vestry, and he already had a bunch of zealots. And he just decided I can just commit to this because this is expensive and it's gas heavy and it's going to be slow.
Yes.
So I can just commit to this and not even really even need to spend gas. And if it doesn't go well, then I can spend the gas. I don't think he was even mining a hell of a lot of gas at that point. So I think it was like a really like specific response that just came down to the game knowledge at that point.
Well, there you
Which
go.
kind of says a lot in itself, I think. Not necessarily about the specific matchup, but more about how he responds to certain circumstances.
And we see here on our screen the Group A situation. We don't have the standings here in this particular image, but I will tell you guys, Mystery Meat and Veek ended up qualifying 2 Protosses out of Group A, making it out. 3Crow, our random torchbearer, unfortunately was not able to clutch it out. But he did show us the 6 pool. And if people are watching and checking out games in the future, I know Enos is a Zerg player. If Alexander takes DF spot, if he's feeling better in the next group in just about a few minutes here, basically, like a bit over a half hour, okay, maybe that's something that we can look at. But my God, man, I was really quite surprised to see that. And the fact that it was successful.
Last minutes to Zerg, Nablime last minutes to Zerg, all of them 6 pool every single game.
Well, Shambler will be Zerg, so
no worries. The 4-player map called today.
I just can't believe that happened on a 4-player map, man. That's so insane.
That was glorious.
The fact that he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go across the map and hope for the best.
I mean, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. So.
May as well.
There you go.
In for a caw.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me for the cast, Mesk, and with any luck, we'll see you in about 45 minutes when we kick off Group B. And for everybody watching at home, obviously keep yourselves comfy and cozy, and we'll see you guys in under an hour for the next group. GG's.
GG. Smoke weed every day, but especially today.